gun laws once again on the agenda in the state capitol today, why hundreds of people.
Oh, it's 7 o'clock. That clock's slow. We're going by my clock. I'll call the Board of Finance, March 11th, 2026 meeting to order. You can approve or amend the agenda. We have to amend the agenda. I'd like to move that we let Catherine Boughton go first. Move her into slot 3A. Talk about a request for money for town community plans. Or hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The second amendment is executive session, correct? To take place at 11A after the public comment. It is a personnel matter, correct? Need a motion for that?
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, Catherine, you're up.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me go first. I've given you all this document which details what we're asking for and what we're doing. I will keep this brief. I'm the town historian and president of the Friends of the Canaan History Center. And the Canaan History Center, late last fall, suddenly realized that nothing much was being planned for the 250th celebration. So we started working on that. I'm happy to report that our first event, which was a George Washington birthday ball at the Colonial Theater, was really a smashing success. We had about 100 people, about 60%, I would say, were in costume. They danced, they drank George Washington's beer brewed from his own recipe. We had Martha Washington's rum, which added a certain elan. It was a fun evening, and there are calls for it again, and I don't think I'll ever do it again. But anyway, we're looking to the future. Our next big event is going to be on June 13th in adjunct with the flagpole raising and the ceremony on the corner lot next to the Lawrence Tavern. Following that, we're planning a community picnic with reenactments. I'm hoping, I have an appointment with the school on the 17th to see if I can get the third graders whom I teach about local history. We'd like to uniform them all in regimental uniforms and have them drill under the direction of George Washington. It should be chaos and it should be fun. Then we'll have picnic food supplied by the Friends, colonial era games, blah, blah, blah. That will be on the 13th. On the 14th, in adjunct with the Falls Village Canaan Historical Society, will be doing cemetery tours of Revolutionary War veterans' graves. And on July 4th, we expect to host a reading of the Declaration of Independence at noon. That will be either at the Doughboy or at the Liberty Pole. Probably the Liberty Pole would be the better place. We'll have details of that later. I would like to have all the churches told their bells, which is what they did in Philadelphia when the Declaration was first read. On the 18th, we're going to kind of combine with the fire department, and they're going to have a 250th theme. We want to have a banner, and anybody who wants to march in costume after that would be available. I'm also dragging my family into this to create a float with the replica of the iron furnace, and my husband has volunteered to create a replica of the cannon because you can't find a cannon anywhere using these things. So then Railroad Days, we'll be inaugurating both walking tours with me and then a QR coded driving tour to take people outside of the town limits to see other historic sites. So obviously all this costs money. We've applied for grants. We broke even on the ball, which was lovely. You know, I just wanted to have a big community party. I didn't really care if we made money. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And thanks to the kindness of some donors and from ticket sales, we're dead on even at the end of it. So what I'm here tonight for is to ask if the town will include a one-time grant of up to, and I emphasize up to, $5,000. I'm not sure how much any of this is going to cost. We've talked to Teresa about a community picnic, which we're calling American as apple pie and hot dogs, which will be our menu. And so that food will be a cost, but these other things, I'm not sure exactly what the budget will be. I don't think they're going to be big ticket items. So if we get other money coming in, we've applied to the Community Foundation for a grant. We are planning on applying for other grants that have deadlines in April and May. Don't know what we'll get, but we're asking you to set aside $5,000 one time that we would go up to, but not use if not needed. That's it.
Okay. Any questions for Catherine? What's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion to a one-time grant, the $5,000.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? And we'll be taking it out of surplus. No discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
How very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do with the History Center.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's such fun. Can't get time enough to do as much as I want. Thank you.
Need to, we approved the minutes already, right? So overview of the high school.
Want me to go first? Or do you want to? I was gonna go first. Okay.
You were?
I was.
Or you want to leave first?
No,
This is let me explain. The high school budget is the one that's going to be voted on. Your budget is just an overview, is the same as the town's budget's going to be an overview. We're going to have workshops, that'll be that we'll be scheduling in the next month, so that you can come back and we'll go over it line by line, okay?
yeah, some of my budget has to do with the high school budget, so I think if I go first,
Okay.
it'll help it make a little bit.
All right.
That's why. So you don't want me to go line by line, you just want me to explain?
Well, if you want to go line by line, you can, but we just don't want to get bogged down here.
Oh, great.
Everybody,
Just made my note. That's it. Thank you.
because we'll go line by line at the workshop.
So, oh, so then we'll skip right to the end. The last page is going to show an increase for North Canaan of 5.18%. an increase of the high school, the region budget for 9.75%, and a total increase of 7.65. And I want to start by saying that originally when I went to the Board of Education, I was coming with a 9.22% overall for the whole combined budget. And it's in working with Sam in central office that we've been able to reduce it down to the 7.65. I know that doesn't seem like a big reduction and this seems like a big number, but when you do look at it line by line, you're going to see it's insurance and it's salaries. And so in working it and reworking it and working with the Board of Education, everything that I could zero out, I zeroed out. But in working with Sam, I said, I can't do this. I can't go to the town with a 9.22. So we found a service that was being provided to other schools, and that's with our ML teacher. They were using a different service. What the region just agreed to do was to take our ML teacher and make it into a regional position. So that took him off our salary and our insurance line, which was a savings of almost $130,000. They are also agreeing to have him stay in our building full time, but they revolved the cost out to the other towns. It really provided a huge savings for us and made it so that we could come here. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I'm at overall, the increase is 247, but then if you go to the insurance line, it's 126. So the insurance was also, oh, and I do want to just talk about, the insurance was originally a 13.5% increase, and it goes down to an 11% increase, which was also a huge savings. And so I'm saying 11, and you'll hear 11, and you'll read 11, but then you're going to look at the line and say 17.1. Last year, we had 3 people retire. I took a gamble, and I said, okay, in the future, I'm going to add a family, a double, and a single. I hired 3 people. They all took family. And then one person who was already working for us also took a family. So I added 4 families. So I'm not basing that 11% increase on what I proposed as a number to you last year, because that doesn't make sense. The 11% increase is on the 803, which is what we're predicting to pay this year.
Do you have any questions on this preliminary?
Do you have any forecast on the insurance side? What things are going to look like if more people are going to sign on for families?
No, I mean, it's really, right now, I think we have 7 people who aren't taking insurance on the staff. So we don't have anyone retiring this year, so that's exciting. And we do send out a form at the end of the winter asking people if they plan on returning, asking people if they plan on having a status change in their certification, so if they're when they move from bachelor's to master's to 6 year, and also if they plan on keeping and staying on the insurance. According to that, right now, it's not a change. But you know, the one person who picked it up last year, it was because their spouse had a job change and they needed to switch to take the insurance. So it's really a hard prediction to make now. And last year I didn't know who I was hiring until the summer. So
That all could change tomorrow.
Yeah.
it does. And
Yeah.
you know, it's a moving target. The salary is pretty stable as long as everybody stays that's on, but you can't really predict that either. And then you go to hire someone and I might be able to get someone new, but there's benefits.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Beth right now? And then I'll contact you with the date for the workshop.
Next.
Any other questions? No? Sam?
All right, so I probably won't be back for your budget workshops like that, so I'm gonna go.
Well, you don't have to be because you're
Right.
independent from,
So that's why I'm gonna go.
we don't
through
have
ours.
any real jurisdiction over you.
I'm gonna go through ours in a little more detail, just to provide you a little more in-depth.
Right.
And then, as Doug pointed out, the public hearing is Thursday, April 9th, which is listed on the last page, or second last page there. At the high school at 6:30, and then there's a region-wide referendum on the first Tuesday in May. It's to be May 5th. So I always start each presentation out, each point of finance, because I think it's extremely important to talk about shift in enrollment. As a member town in the region, your enrollment based on each October 1st determines what your percentage of the high school central office and pupil services budgets for the subsequent year will be. So you can see that on this first page, you had 108 students as of October 1st, 2024, and the number decreased to 106 students. However, because the number of students at the high school went from 327 students down to 300 students, your percentage increased by almost 2.3%. So that's a very significant increase in your share of the high school. Your share of pupil services in the RSSC budget dropped about 0.2%. So what that all means is before we even added any money to the new budget, you guys were up $205,413 or 3.7% right on the gate, unfortunately. And this seems like the same exact conversation that I have similarly every year. I think, however, last year, you guys did see a reduction, so you're kind of back to where you were the previous year, at about that 39%. The next page, which is a more detailed spreadsheet, it shows every town's share. Obviously, what one town goes up, the net sum is zero on this, and that's the point I'm making here. So again, you can sort of see how we came up with that $205,413 and broken out into each of the three budgets. So I don't want to belabor that, but that's the math behind those numbers. The next page is our draft budget summary, page 1. And what jumps off the page here is the middle of the three budgets. It's the special education of pupil services budget, which is up 9.17%. Pupil services is absolutely exploded in the current year. We have primary grade students, we have high school age students, we have students that are just requiring a lot of services that unfortunately we're not able to even provide in-house by adding staff. We have to send them to outplacements. So they're called out-of-district placements, and there's a tuition and cost associated with that. Not uncommon to see a tuition in the neighborhood of $400 per day, which 400 times 180 days is $72,000. The associated transportation cost to transport a student from here to ELA is an example of a facility that we use that's in Plainville, Connecticut. So you're looking at approximately $430 per day. So again, you add another $72,000 to $75,000 on top of the $72,000 for the tuition. You're in the area of $150,000 for one outplacement.
Can I just add?
Sure.
So then you're also looking at when you have a student who's outplaced, typically they can't travel by themselves. So if you're paying for a transportation company, you're also paying for a para to be in, that's a full day. By the time you go out and come back and go out and come back, you're paying a para just to ride in the car. And then typically at the facility, they also have a paraprofessional that we're responsible for. So one outplaced student
can be upwards of 200,000 easily. We have particular students that are in the $250,000 to $400,000 range as well, which are already sort of baked into this budget, if you will. We'll talk about in more detail what the increase on those two particular lines were. Like North Canaan, we're in the same insurance plan, and I appreciate Beth giving me credit, but I take zero credit for the reduction in the state ownership plan. I was just the one that called up and said, drop it from 13.5 to 11, because on Tuesday, we got a notification from the state treasurer's office that the rates for Litchfield County were dropped to 11%. We were carrying 13.5 because that was the number we were told to carry. So between contracted salaries, 11% health insurance increase, and a $700,000 increase in our pupil services budget, our bottom line increase right now is 6.25. As Beth alluded to, as of Friday, prior to Beth meeting with some of the folks here in town, we were carrying the MLL position in the region because prior to that, North Canaan had hired this position to address a need in its particular school. So in talking with the superintendent and the Region 1 Board of Education, we said really that position does belong under the Region 1 umbrella. What that means is that would become an employee of the region. It would no longer be an employee of North Canaan, but as Beth mentioned, the superintendent is working with the Teachers Association unions to basically give some assurance that that person would stay and continue to work in this school building where they've established student relationships, and it would be in the best interest of the students. So just as a matter of discussion, our budget, the RSSC budget, if you will, on Friday was at 2.71%. Because it's a relatively small budget, we added the cost of teacher, an experienced veteran teacher with family insurance, and our budget jumped from 2.71% to 10.49%. And it did result in a savings, even though we're going to talk about later slides here, the impact of North Canaan did manage to drop down as a result of that, approximately $108,000. The cost that came off that Beth referred to is the amount that came out of the local budget, but then it was about $148,000 that came out of your local budget, and then we add back $40,000, which is your share of that shared position, even though that position will be earmarked North Canaan. So moving along, the next page is the revenue page. We've tried to find not only ways to decrease cost in this proposed budget, but also any way that we can eke out any revenue, because every dollar of revenue that we can bring in is having the same impact as reducing cost. So our tuition for students that we receive into our ag program, which is capped, we get two funds from the state. We get $6,800 that we can bill to the outside. So for example, the town of Sheffield, for probably 25 plus years, has been sending students to the HVRHS Ag Ed program. We bill the towns in Massachusetts, or in New York State's case, we can't bill their BOCES. They won't pay for it, but we bill their individual families the same amount, $6,800, which is capped by the state of Connecticut. They dictate to us that we cannot charge more than that. The state does also give us a grant of approximately a little over $3,500 per student. The good news is those costs here offset our budget, and they really don't add cost to our ag program. We've had the same number of teachers. We have 4 full-time teachers, actually 1.2 teachers, because they work through the summer and they do things with student agriculture experience, and they supervise student programs over the summer. And they're involved in, as you know, a lot of programs throughout the year, not just the regular school year, but they work, for example, over Columbus Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, and take students to the FFA conference every October to Indianapolis, et cetera, et cetera. So that's money that offsets the budget. The other area that we were able to increase is the special ed placement and excess cost grant by increasing that $50,000 as a result of what we were talking about earlier, those out of district placement costs. If the cost of those increase, the amount of money that we get from the state does increase. It doesn't increase, unfortunately, dollar for dollar. I won't go into all the details of it, but in a sense, it's 4.5 times our cost per pupil. So at approximately $35,000 per pupil times 4.5 times, the state will pay us back once we hit that threshold. So 35,000 times 4.5. I should know this number off the top of my head, but let's just say the number is approximately $175,000. Once it exceeds 175, the state will pay us. This year they paid us about 78% of the amount that exceeds 175. So again, you get a sense for every dollar that we go up, we don't clearly get the dollar, we get a proportion of it. So that's, again, the proportionate share of that increase. The next page is the breakdown of the high school assessments. We're currently at 35,000 in the lower right. And unfortunately, we're getting close to almost $40,000 per student. As you can see, the number of students, if you look up and to the left, I mentioned earlier, we went from 327 resident students to 300 resident students. We think that next year, based on our current 8th grade classes, we're going to drop to about 293. And then we do expect to kind of go back up over 300 based on the current 7th grade classes, which across the district are generally a pretty large class, I think.
About the
I
same.
don't know about at North Canaan, but I know in Salisbury in particular, they have a huge seventh grade class. And so do some of the other schools. Cornwall is one, even though they're small, they have an extraordinary large number. 16, I don't know why she knows that. So anyway, that's our cost per pupil. This is kind of all high level. I'll just keep going because eventually I want to get drilled down to some more detail of what's driving this budget. The next page is a breakdown of our pupil services or special ed. And again, you can just, if you look at the lower right, you can see that we went from a net cost, all 7 schools of $7,522,556 to over $8.2 million. So it's a very significant increase in our cost. We did that despite reducing a full-time psychologist position. We currently have 5 psychologists, which are shared across the region. Psychologists do a lot of daily support. They do evaluations, which are required as part of usually a student's IEP or a PPT, parent placement team meeting. We had to do that, we felt, out of necessity as a way to sort of sharpen or lower the steepness of the curve of the cost increases in this budget. We had 2 retirees. We said we're going to only try to fill one of these positions. It's also a very hard position to fill, quite frankly, finding a certified school psychologist. There are a ton of social workers and licensed social workers out there, but in order to work in a school, you have to have a special certification, again, to provide the services that are mandated in the school environment. So we added nothing else in terms of staff anywhere else throughout this budget, any 3 of the budgets, with the exception of rolling in that MLL, multi-language learner position that we've talked about with respect to North Canaan. Page 5 of the RSSC budget, the breakout of that. Again, the lion's share of the increase here is the sort of rolling that position in. So the next page is really a composite of all 3 budgets. And yes, unfortunately, despite that change, North Canaan's increase is still $549,480 or 9.64%. Again, in part due to the 3.7% enrollment shift, special education, health insurance, and contracted salaries. So the next page, we sort of get into breaking out where the increases are for the high school budget. So in the high school budget, benefits are not as much of a driver as salaries and purchase services and supplies. So under supplies falls our utilities. Fortunately, we locked in our heating oil in last fall. So we locked in at $2.70 something cents. And we locked in our diesel at $2.81 for next year. Is that right? $2.81. That's for our school bus transportation and for heating our buildings. I will say this winter we burned more oil than we contracted for. We've had mild winters, and we sort of got to thinking that was the new normal. So we adjusted our contracted gallons lower, and we got to mid-January and realized that we were going to exceed our allotment despite, and we actually had to take our night set back off because of frozen pipes and things like that. So we're back to managing it more tightly. We have a good system in terms of our heating controls. We went through that upgrade a few years ago. But the bottom line is utilization just due to cold winter. Electricity also is locked in at a rate, so we're not seeing so much of an increase there. But some of it is a combination of distribution charges on our electric, and we did budget for higher utilization next year on our oil. So if we don't use that, that's money that would be coming back. So in more detail, if you flip over, we did negotiate. We're in the second year. Next year, 26-27, would be the second year of a 3-year agreement. We were right on the state average for our certified teacher contract negotiations. The town, the region in particular, is in a district reference group amongst the state peers that has the ability to pay. So Region 1, which is a composite, not just of North Canaan, but all the member towns in the region, falls in a situation where we basically were in a situation to pay the average. We didn't pay above the average. We didn't pay below the average settlement. We did negotiate that settlement without incurring any legal costs. Our non-certified contract, which we had negotiated previous to that, was slightly lower. We did have some degree changes, the 1 degree change, which impacts our budget. We're reconfiguring. So I mentioned that I mentioned about filling the psychologist position. At the high school, we have a retirement in the principal's office. We're going to consolidate, and we're going to have where there was previously 3 secretaries, we're going to downsize that to 2 secretaries and redistribute duties over the 2, which will be a new person and then 1 other existing person. So let's see. SRBI coordinator is a stipend position at approximately $10,571 that we eliminated just again in the need to get this budget down. We, like Beth, we started at 9%, pretty much right on the dot, and we had it down last week to 5.92 before the insurance adjustment, which would have brought us to 5.52 because the insurance savings 13.5 to 11 brought us down 0.4%, and then adding back, we landed back to 6.25. We are still in the midst of budget workshops like you are with our Board of Education. We had a meeting on Tuesday. We have another one scheduled for this Friday. We have one scheduled from 2 weeks out from Friday. I'm not optimistic that we're going to find significant savings, but like somebody said up there, every day things just seem to change. We've had people coming onto our insurance. We've had people coming off of our insurance. More volatility than ever we've ever had in our budget process. Again, as I mentioned, Friday, we actually at one point were 5.92, and then on Monday we were at 6.91, and we were like kind of tearing through the budget again, list of things that we had to go back and revisit. We're like, we've got to get this thing down. Our goal was to get it to 6, quite frankly, to try to get it back under 6, to get it close to where we were. We got to 6.25. So that's currently where we're at. We'll see where it takes us. We eliminated a few positions. It sounds worse than it is. The reason we eliminated them, quite frankly, is we don't have interest in the girls lacrosse program, unfortunately, in part due to a declining enrollment. The girls still have other options. They still have softball, track, and tennis in the spring. And the indoor track program, again, due to a lack, this was in the current year. So in both cases, we made a decision. We don't have the enrollment for that this year. That's something we decided to take out of next year's budget. We talked about benefits, purchase services. Again, one of the drivers is athletic transportation and regular transportation. If you recall, like 3 years ago, we got hit with a very large increase coming out of COVID. Bus company has sort of been locked in on a 5-year agreement. They hit us hard. They went from like 10 to 9. I think next year's proposed budget is a 5% increase or 6% increase. It's a 5-year contract. And then it goes to 5 and then to 3 in the last year. Our cafeteria, we have to increase a little bit to subsidize that. The cost of providing a school lunch and breakfast program at the high school, try to feed high school students on a budget of $2.75 is just not feasible. So we have to put some money in out of our local budget to do that. We're working with Falls Village and Cornwall. So we tried to add them in to basically bring in some additional revenue. That's essentially a wash. That helps them out more than it helps us. It doesn't help us. It's a net sum 0 to the region. But yeah, and then we have some general maintenance and repair items. We've completed some pretty significant upgrades to our facility over the last few years. We did a major renovation in the auditorium, the cafeteria. We did new tennis courts. So this was not a year. There was a proposed request to do some significant work down on the track and field area. our long jump, pole vault, and high jump, we had to defer that. Those were big ticket items that we're just going to have to, make some provisions, keep those programs safe, but we're not in a position to make that sort of investment at this time. So that kind of includes the high school highlights. Actually flipping it over, and so heating oil is $2.75 per gallon. I think I mentioned $2.71. I don't know, any questions up to this point? I'm not going to read through all the details of all the lines for equipment and supplies, but we tried to include anything with any significance of an increase or decrease. It's not listed here. We like North Canyon and Bethany kept it the same, just to keep the program going. The next area of the budget, as I mentioned, with the largest increase is pupil services. It kind of jumps off the page. The $449,000 on the purchase services, that is the tuition and transportation. We talked about some of the other areas. I don't really have anything additional to add. Again, that psychologist retirement, not replacing that position was a big ticket for us. The RSSC budget, again, the year before we had actually reduced the MLL position at the region, in part because we had hired initially a full-time person to service all 7 schools. So back in November of 23 or 3, North Canaan at that time hired their own MLL position and had been sort of doing their own thing. So our numbers had we kind of went through a peak where we had in other communities as well, not just North Canaan, but in other communities, we had an influx of students that were non-English speaking. We justified hiring a full-time person because they were handling at least 6 other, well, at that time they were hiring 7. And then when North Canaan, we no longer had to service them. And then others were starting to sort of drop. We went last year during our budget process and reduced that position from a 1.0 position to a 0.6 position. That position is a non-certified position. It's basically essentially an ed parent position that's providing those support services throughout the region. So we had achieved a savings of that, which was reflected in our budget. And that's just the situation. So, in talking about projected enrollment, we expect there to be 21 new incoming students from North Canaan Elementary School. I mentioned what the projected enrollment would be, and those are new students coming in. I believe you have 43. This is the current 8th grade class, and so we asked for a breakdown of where those students would be going. We got a response that 21 would come to high school. 18 had requested transfers out to most of them were to Oliver Wolcott or to go potentially to like a private school. My point here is that's a large number of students that is sort of an unknown. Just because someone applies to one of those places, Oliver Wolcott, or a private school, there could be financial considerations. It's not a given that just because you apply to Oliver Wolcott, you're getting in. It's become a very popular request, and so they're able to sort of make decisions based on, all the other students from the area that attend Oliver. My point is, I think your number for next year, when we're sitting here, should be, I think, pretty consistent. And I'm hoping that you're not starting at a 3.7% increase is the end game here. But at this point, today's March 10th? Isn't today like normally the day that private schools sort of make their announcement of when they're accepting students? We will have a much clearer picture probably a month from now or less. But we try to give every Board of Finance sort of what the following year looks like. It gets extremely difficult to try to project out beyond that, because then you have to not only take your student projection list, but you got to factor in all the other 5-member towns. So that's looking at our watch.
No, 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 no.
I'm just kidding. It's good. I gotta wrap it up. So our hearing is on the 9th. If there's any questions, even if you don't have them tonight, I really encourage you to come to our meeting. I think it's important. You guys, North Canaan pays the majority of the high school budget. You know that, you're all well versed in that. Fortunately, you don't pay the majority of the pupil services and RSSC budgets because Salisbury has a bigger elementary school, and the high school, which it takes its share of that cost as well, has a larger student population. So my bottom line is you guys, you're well invested in this and you pay a large percentage of the regional budget. So we really encourage you to either come to the meeting, or if you don't want to come or you can't come, make sure your questions are made available. We'll make sure that they're heard by the Board of Education, or contact your North Canaan Board of Ed rep and, put that on their plate to deliver the message for you, whatever that message is. But I can assure you that this has been honestly the most difficult budget I think we've prepared as far as I've worked there, and I've worked there for a long time. And I said sometimes we can come in like this is a hard fought 6.25 when I've been trying everything in my power to work with our director of pupil services and superintendent to really figure out a way to get down that special education budget. Unfortunately, I think if we were to reduce it, we're really fooling ourselves, because this year alone, we are going to overspend our pupil services budget. We just learned today of another placement that occurred as a result of a situation in a different town that we're responsible for. And that's sort of how this whole special education situation works. So a student placed by Torrington that's our responsibility, is going to a facility that I mentioned actually. So I can't get into too many details of this, but the point is it's a very intricate situation that has a lot of layers. Our legal costs associated with this are significant. When we think we have a really good case, it's extremely important that we sort of lawyer up and defend our position, because we think we offer an amazing program at Housatonic in all of our elementary schools. But when we can't, sometimes we can't legitimately offer those students the services they need, we do have to send them out. But when we think we can, and the parents or family think that we can, then we sometimes have to challenge that. So again, our legal cost, which is also, I didn't talk about, but that's another driver in our budget. And we've been facing that basically since day one of this year. And so it's not just a matter of this is what we expect that's going to happen. It's happening now, and the consequences of it are still rolling out.
And just to piggyback on that really quick, in our school alone, we do have 4 dedicated full-time special ed teachers. We also have a full-time school psychologist. We also have a full-time speech and language pathologist. We have part-time OT. We have part-time PT. We have, depending on the day, between 8 and 10 paras, which 5 of them are dedicated one-to-one paras that are necessary for a student to be able to navigate school day. So, and that doesn't include also the legal services, the director of pupil services, and they run and schedule all of our PPTs. They make sure we're within the legal timelines for those meetings. We have 41 identified students in our school alone, with at least 3 or 4 more being identified by the end of the year. So these are definitely services that we utilize every day, and they make it so that so many of our kids can access the education.
Last year, we hired a second nurse to handle a student, medically fragile student. And this year, we hired very limited, but we hired a 3rd nurse, as Beth mentioned, sometimes to often drive up, not sometimes, to drive up on the bus daily. And again, that's a requirement that we have to fulfill. So those are just, trying to find a nurse that can work 1.5 hours twice a day can be tricky. But those are the challenges, that it's not just straight up education. There's a lot of other, unfortunately, services and supports that have been added to the education budget, especially over the last 2 years.
Any questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And remind everyone to go on the hearing on the 9th of April, right?
Thursday.
Good. The people don't have to stay if you don't want to.
You're excused.
Next is the overview of the selectmen's budget.
Your copies.
Would you let me take
You have
mine
copies?
there, or do you want to go?
Do you have copies?
You have copies?
They're up there, aren't they?
Oh, right here. These them?
Oh, yeah.
How you hung?
Sorry.
I thought you're just studious.
I just thought it was
Sorry, I put
one.
all that information out.
I thought it was one copy.
You're
Like
one
a
copy.
phone book.
Oh, boy. Your costs are going up.
Yes.
I'm tired. So
You got one extra copy still. I mean,
this is a good
I'll
one.
share with
Yeah,
somebody.
I know, I got one.
all right.
Here.
Oh, there we go. You got one.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, so we'll start.
so we have the same format here. Just an overview, and then we'll have a workshop where we'll go line by line.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll probably do a workshop with both Board of Education because there are limited things which we can do with the Board of Education as far as their budget. So we could probably do both the Board of Education and the Selectmen at one workshop, if you don't mind sitting through Board of Education.
Oh, that's fine.
Good. All right.
And the
So
select
you-
board's gonna have to sit on this board too, as well.
What's that?
I said the select board's gonna have to sit on.
Yeah, yeah. So you just give us an overview.
Yeah.
Some of the highlights and the bottom line, and then we'll set a date for a workshop and
So, selectmen salaries are staying the same at 37. Admin salaries are going down 1525, and that line isn't taking benefits anymore from the town. General supplies is staying at 2. Legal notice is staying at 1200. Probate court went up 604. Election cost went up 9,800, so they're going to 36,000 this year, and that's if they have a primary. Which they think the state is probably gonna have a primary this year. They're gonna have to put in there. Board of Finance is staying at 832. The federal audit is decreasing by 2,500. The auditing service is decreasing by 12,500. The assessor's salary is decreasing by 6,300. The clerk's salary is decreasing by 3,700. No change in general supplies, decreasing on the books by 900. Mapping is going up 1,400. Contract services, legal notice is going up 150, excuse me. Education is no change, mileage no change, 500 on the mapping. The dues are no change, copier lease no change, and increase of 1,500 on software. Board of Assessment feels no change at 500. Tax collector salary is 23,000, no change there. A decrease on the clerk's salary, 7,050 for that. General supplies is down 921. Postage and printing are down, or are increased 100. Legal notices are decreased 500. Tax software is decreased 500. No change on the miscellaneous expense. On treasurer, being same on her line. Payroll services was under budgeted last year, so we're increasing there 4,066. Financial software and support is going up $1,000. Town council. So I know you guys asked me last time if we were going to be coming down on this line. We'll talk about this in executive session a little bit where we're at. But there's an increase of 15 grand on this line right now, and that's because in 2027 we have to start negotiations with the union for the new union contract for the public works department. And I called the office, and that's about what they thought the increase should be for that. So we'll work on this a little bit more, but that's why that line's up 15,000. Town clerk salary is no change.
Excuse me, is that a specialized attorney for,
It's a labor attorney that
Okay.
specializes working on union contracts. It's the same firm that wrote the contract that we have in place as of right now.
okay,
Okay. Town clerk salary is the same. Assistant salary is a increase of 4,000. Increase of 4,000.
so if there's any increase or changes in, the town clerk, their elected officials, they would have to come that night at a workshop and explain to the board their individual budgets. Okay,
You want me to run through those lines or?
or you can run through them, but I'm just saying, telling you that it's not, they have to justify what, it's their department.
Okay,
It's not your department, it's their department.
correct. So, state fees are decreasing 1,000. Legal notices are staying at 5, or increasing by 500. 600 on the microfilm. So no changes on the next three. Tax relief is staying, no changes at 6,000. Town hall maintenance is no change at 8,000. We're increasing on the general supplies by 1,000. Postage meter is staying the same at 7,500. Telephones is decreasing by 1,000. Fuel oil, we're increasing by 1,500. Electric, we're decreasing by 1,000. Water and sewer, we're decreasing by 200. Property and fax decreased by 1,000, and the alarm system decreasing by 200. The insurance right now, we're seeing no change with that. On payroll taxes, no change with that. Employee benefits, we're keeping that line at 260 right now, so there's no change from last year. Sick holidays are staying at 65,000.
Not to cut you off, but you're going line by line here, and you should do that during a workshop.
All right, well, on my budget sheet's kind of set out as line by line, but if you want, I mean, I can.
Well, just give us the highlights, but Kate's here to talk about the transfer station. So he should take part of your budget time here to be talking about,
Sure.
all right?
Yeah, if you want to just hit on like each section, just something that stands out. If you want to just do it that way, it's fine.
All right, so our highway department went up 28,000. Our salt budget went up 30,000.
So on these increases, we're gonna be asking you during the workshop exactly why they went up. And
With salt, the reason we went up on 30,
No, I said, when we have the workshop, we'll ask you those questions.
okay.
All right.
Well,
Sounds like you just kind of want the bottom line and percent and that sort of thing, though.
Yeah, just like Beth did,
Okay.
kind of a general thing, and then you go line by line,
Sure.
you know. But Kate's here to talk about the transfer station, so I
Sure,
mean,
if you'd like to talk about change.
I think you know, if, do you want to do that in between, or do you want to
We
finish?
should do that and then we'll finish with where we're at.
All right.
All right, if some of you don't know me, I'm Kate. I manage the transfer station here in town. It is no surprise that we are spending a lot of money on trash. It's only going to get worse in the next couple of years. The problem is we're kind of getting our options are long-term contracts with companies like USA, or we can start investing a lot of money to kind of self-haul. That is gonna probably be about a 5-year estimate, I would say, on getting equipment, trucks. We would like to do it in a way where we share the truck driver with other towns, to alleviate North Cannon's responsibility on the salary. For the budget specifically, I tried to stay the same for what we spent last year. Where I saw an increase is usually where I saw there was money transferred to cover something. I put in for a 4% increase in salary for raises for the entire team, which I find is really necessary. The last 2 years, only half of our team has gotten raises. The part-timers have been excluded. I do not want to manage something like that. And it's only a $4,000 raise on the line, so I think 4% is completely reasonable. Some of these guys have been working for the town for 10 years, so not getting raises is pretty insulting. Other areas of the budget seem to be under budgeted in the past, such as hazardous waste. We have 2 events a year that are managed through the where there is a hazardous waste pickup in Falls Village in the spring, and then one in Torrington in the fall. North Canton residents are permitted to go and not pay. That is an expense the town pays on their behalf. 2024, we were about $4,000 over budget in that, so I wanted to make sure that we were covered this year. It's a what's the word for it? It's an operation that's incredibly necessary for the town. Only being twice a year, not actually being able to collect it on site at our transfer station. There's quite a collection residents have over the year between paint thinners and gasoline and a bunch of other things that we are just not permitted to take. It's a really great resource for our community, and it's something that the town really has to support. Other than that, I think the only other place I really went up was tipping fee and hauling costs. Those are rates that are projected to keep going up in the next couple of years. Again, circling back to trying to get to a system where we are self-hauling will alleviate those prices 5 and 10 years down the line, but at the expense of spending a lot of money getting to it. So it's something to consider.
The trash is.
Well, you might want to give the reason.
Well, so last week we got a email from DAS, which is the state agency that handles the MERA program, and that's where we haul our trash to. We were supposed to have this site until June of 2027. That was when the contract's set to expire. This contract ended up expiring. Well, they sent us a letter on Monday. And basically they're going to expire June of 2026. So just around the corner here before this budget sets off. So the Northwest COG has always been working on an NRRA group that, would try and keep that site alive. but we're just not sure where that's gonna go yet. So last Thursday, we had an emergency meeting with that and went over what was going on and tried to come up with different ideas how to, keep this site alive, how is it gonna get funded, what's gonna go on. I've had some talks with Maria Horn about this whole thing. It doesn't look like that date is gonna get pushed back to the 2027 date. It looks like it's gonna be a hard date of 2026, which is gonna be tough on local municipalities, and all of the Northwest COG is in the same boat here with this whole thing. So some of these budget numbers may have to change and we're gonna have to work on this. So
Currently, all of our operations are up in the air. We have a option for a 5-year contract with USA. We have an option for a 10-year contract with USA. 5 of those years, they don't even highlight costs associated.
Yeah.
So
and when
we're
Dave-
really trying to figure out the direction that we're gonna go in a sustainable way now. That
Yeah.
doesn't just keep us paying a contract that's easy to do at the expense of taxpayers.
And there is a deal on the table from another contractor that looks great on paper, but if you start calculating out the recyclables that we get, you get credit for recyclables right now with the MERA program. And they don't put a hard number on recyclables. And if you look out in the future, it doesn't really calculate out to where we would be making out, And at the end of that 10-year contract, they could really get us, it's like the Optimum bill that you get or the Comcast bill where it's, you pay $10 or $20 and then at the end they get you $300 for your telephone line or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So it's just something that we want to be careful with and really pay attention. So that whole mess is going on, but we're working through it with the state and with the NRRA. So that's one of our big expenses. The other big jump on this budget is we're going up an additional 40,000 on fire truck. We're trying to hit that mark for their new ladder truck. And going over things with Mike Foley, this is where if we put in this amount, by the time 2030 rolls around, they'll have enough money in the account to do what they need to. They're going to have to do some fundraising on theirs. That's not going to be totally funded by the town. But that's where we need to get to get that done. The big thing with the fire truck that a lot of people don't know in the town is these trucks are rated. There's like a classification on the trucks to make it simple. And if the town doesn't have a certain amount of classification, like let's say it's an A grade truck, we are responsible for increasing or decreasing your homeowner's insurance. So if those fire trucks don't have certain rating, the town doesn't have a certain rating in the fire company, your homeowner's insurances could double. So we need to keep that going. And that's something that I didn't know until I got involved and was running numbers with the firehouse, but I think it's something that the public should know. That's a real big driving factor of why they're moving forward to get this truck and what's going on. Stoney, be able to elaborate on that at all?
Well, the truck's gonna be 30 years old at 31. And right now, we're starting to have issues.
A ladder truck?
Yeah. Okay, the ladder we're looking at gonna be bigger, 3 feet bigger than what we have. And it's just the ISO rating on all our equipment. That's why we keep doing what we're doing, is to keep the town insurance down. Right now, we're at the highest we can be for the town, but if something starts slipping, the age of the trucks, it will reduce the ISO rating because it's the reliability of the piece of equipment. Even though this newer stuff is a headache also, but they don't look at it that way.
So I've been working with the board from the firehouse and trying to make sure that we're not, just taking the minimal that we can get to get this truck without putting too much on the taxpayers. So that's where that number comes into effect. So with the cuts and where we're at with some of these increases, and we also got that 11% increase on some of our insurance. We're up 85,000 over last year, which we're 2.63%. top right now.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, they'll come later. Thank you. We have to set up budget workshop. I think we can do them both in one workshop, don't you? Everybody agree?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, so what date would be good? I have to do it in April? Or we can, our next meeting in April's the 8th?
That's right.
The 8th. The 8th of April, our next meeting is.
Correct.
We should have a workshop probably before that. Or we can have it after
Well,
that.
the public hearing is April 9th, right, for Region 1? Or yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in for Region 1, it's April 9th.
Yeah.
So when do you want to have a hearing on this? Workshop?
First.
yeah, I'm available on the 1st.
1st of April? Is everybody available on the 1st of April?
April Fool's Day, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, budget workshop, April 1st. At 7?
Yeah.
You won't be here?
I don't know yet.
Oh,
Unless
okay.
everyone wants to go earlier. 7's fine.
so this is a workshop. Should we go at 6 so that way we're not out of here at like
Okay.
8:30?
We can do, I mean, if everybody else wants to do it at 6, want to do it at 6? Or is that
Sure.
cutting it?
Yeah. Great.
6, all right?
Yep.
6 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion that we have a budget workshop on April 1st at 6 p.m.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, now, we probably should set a town meeting or, no, a public hearing date. HVRHS hearing and the vote for the HVRHS is May 5th.
May 5th, yeah.
So, we could have a public hearing in April on the town budgets. Or you can do it, we should have by that, we should be in May, have a town meeting. We could do it towards the end of April.
I would prefer the 3rd week in April, so starting the 19th.
So a budget hearing on the 22nd.
So what's the meeting on the 22nd?
What's it?
actually?
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Stoney, you got anything going?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
It isn't here. It's all depends.
Oh, sure.
Hmm.
Thing goes on Thursday.
well, we can do it on the 21st.
21st is right.
Oh,
Monday.
Tuesday.
20th?
Monday's fine.
Monday's fine, the 20th?
Yeah. Great.
How's the 20th for everybody else?
Good.
All right. We got a public hearing on Monday, April 20th. Want to do the town meeting? May? Get it done
Gotta be after the vote. So,
after the high school vote, yeah.
Right.
7 o'clock for the public hearing.
Hmm?
Public hearing at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, public hearing, 7 o'clock on the public hearing. On Monday the 20th. April 20th. And then we'll do a town meeting on the budget. You'll call it in May. I guess you set the date. We don't.
We could request a date.
We can request a date.
Okay, now.
All right. What's good for,
Does it make sense to do it the night of the selectmen's meeting, an hour before? The 4th?
That would be fine.
May 4th?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess. But you shouldn't do it like the last week in May. You should do it like,
No, we want to do it that. It would be good that way if anything.
you do it like the 11th or 12th of May. 11th or 12th of May, you know. Usually town meetings are on Wednesday, right, Sonia?
Yeah.
So, the 13th. No?
That's your meeting.
Huh?
That's our meeting.
Well, that's good because we could have a meeting right after the town meeting
Yeah,
to
there
set
you
the
go.
mill rate.
perfect.
Okay, so you'll set the town meeting for the 13th.
Want to do 7th?
Yeah. That's when you usually call a town meeting.
Yeah, we'll do that and we'll just go and get right into the board fight. Okay.
All right, Sidoni? Usually, handle those, don't you? Yeah.
Time moderator.
All right. Tax collectors report. Everybody got one? They accept it? Any questions?
Motion to accept?
We hear a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
Anybody have any questions on that?
Anybody have any questions on treasurer's report?
I also want to let you know that I appointed, Terry Aiken as the deputy treasurer.
Now, will she fill in your, like if you were out on vacation or sick or something? And would you be paying her out of your salary?
Comes out of the selectman secretary's salary.
As it did,
Yes, in the past.
as the way it did before? Yeah. Okay. Selectmen's time.
All right, so we're looking at a solar project, possibly for the school. I took you about it, Doug. I have some guys here that we're gonna run through some numbers for you guys. So I didn't know if you wanted to look through this.
Hello, everybody.
Dave, if you want to come up and give a presentation.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me tonight, everyone. My name is Abe. Pleasure to meet you. I'll stand line close to do that. So, one thing I could appreciate about discussions I'm listening to tonight is how conscious we are of the budget and where the money is being spent. Now, just taking a step back, one thing I really also could appreciate is hearing how we are locking in prices for electricity and getting a contract for the waste management and things of that nature to secure your costs in these areas. So that's really what my job ends up being too in these types of situations, is looking at budgets, looking at expenses, or where money has gone in the past and how we can make it less in the future. So I did an analysis on the electrical spending for the elementary school next door. And for those of you who do have this, I gave you two. One of them is more of a visual, one of them is more factual, has all of the all the details. So if you just take a look at page 2 of this copy, you'll see that we spent last year, in the last 12 months, $84,128 on electricity. Now, without getting into all the nitty-gritty details, I want to kind of simplify this, and then if you have specific questions after, we can get to them. But the bill gets broken down into two sections: supply and delivery, and the cumulative number is $84,128. So in the exploration to see
if solar would even be feasible to go on the roof of the school. We did a site assessment and went into the attic of the roof, or excuse me, of the school. And one thing that we noticed is that the roof was built on the old roof, which was flat in the past, and it's well over 20 years old. And looking at the structure, there's some flaws, inefficiencies, broken crusts and whatnot. So we said, wow, this might not even work. You know, if we're just going to do solar, a roof replacement would be necessary. So I broke this project into two. One is a roof with solar and battery, and one is just solar and battery. And the reason why I did that is because I want us to be able to see what the value of solar and battery would be if it's something that we thought was necessary to do. And all the financials are broken down here. We can get to that in a minute. And then the other scenario is roof solar battery. So that being said, what a solar and a battery would do on the simplest level would eliminate the electric bill, which would be $84,000 per year. Aside from the $84,000 per year that would be eliminated from the electric bill, the battery also creates revenues from demand response programs through the utility company. So the grid is stressed out. It dispatches the battery when it needs help during weather events, and it pays you for it. So the ranges go from $30,000 per year to $60,000 per year in demand response revenue on top of the savings. But in the analysis and the financial breakdown, I wanted to be conservative, so I stuck with the $30,000 number. So you're looking at $114,000 per year that you'd be able to save. And then, like I said, you have that net number of 30 grand of revenues, right? So we're thinking about saving, what's the budget, what are we cutting down on? This is something that is not only going to save, but also create a cash flowing revenue stream for the school. Now, one thing to also consider is that this is a municipal building school, right? And so there's something called that we all are all familiar with, the One Big Beautiful Bill, right? Whether we like it or not. One of the benefits in it is that there's something called direct pay. So there's a tax credit associated with all solar projects, and it's typically 30%. But in the One Big Beautiful Bill, municipal buildings get an additional 10%, so that 30% goes to 40, and you get paid via direct pay. So it's not something that you have to get back based on your tax liability. You get it paid directly to you in with cash form, check form, right? So that being said, I broke this down in, like I said, two sections: roof, solar, battery, and then just solar and battery. And you could find that on the fourth page. And we have option A, option B, like I just said. So the simple payback period for just solar and battery is 6.9 years. So if rates did not increase and things stayed the way that they currently are, spending $84,000 per year, your break-even point would be in 6.9 years. One thing to consider is that rates have gone up 50% in the last 10 years for electricity. Thankfully, you guys locked in. I did your numbers. You're paying 24.7 cents per kilowatt hour currently. And that's about, I don't know, maybe a 40% increase in the last 10 years. But who knows what the future holds? Things aren't going down. So we could always assume that they're going to go up. So again, roof and solar and battery is a 6.9 year payback period. Now, at the end of the day, there's a cost associated with doing a roof. And originally, when we made this proposal, we just had a simple cost. Okay, shingles, brand new roof, drip edge, without getting into all the details, it's this price. It was $600 per square. And we did the site assessment and realized there's structural problems with the roof if it's going to have to endure the load of solar panels. And it ended up being another couple $100,000 of cost that would go into supporting the roof. So rather than making this an unattractive project to do and adding another couple $100,000 to the project, we said, listen, we actually want to make this project happen. We want to be conscious of the budget for the school. and for the town. And so we said, we're gonna eat the cost. So let's just get the roof cost done at the proposed number that we said we would do and proceed with the project, assuming we get to that point, right? But that being said, it's something that you wouldn't have to worry about for another 50 years, is doing the roof. We're gonna add some structural integrity. All of the details for what we would do are outlined in this proposal. And, you know, we would end up having our full engineering team come, do all of our load measurements and everything like that. And then another thing to consider too is that there is a timeline, a deadline on these tax credits. So, you know, yes, they're awesome, they're great. The tax credit in this scenario would end up being $521,000 that would get paid back to you when doing this project. But there's two deadlines in the big beautiful bill that you have to meet. The first one is July 4th, 2026, meaning you have to start 5% of construction before July 4th, 2026 to lock in your tax credit and secure your tax credit. If you miss that deadline, you have to have your system installed and placed in service by December 31st, 2027. So time isn't really on our side here, for lack of better terms, but that's the situation. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you have an image of what the system's going to look like on the roof?
I do. It was foolish of me to not add it to the presentation, so I apologize. But I do.
And then as part of the expense, regardless of if the roof is going to be done or not, is there going to be some sort of snow guard for the system to prevent snowfall on the kids?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And feel free to set any standards that you want additionally on top of what we would propose. But yeah, I want to be flexible and make it work, you know, because at the end of the day, the truth is I think that this would be a really good move for the school in terms of not only saving on the electric bill, and you can look at that in the same capacity as locking in your electric price the way that you did in this case, but except on a 10-year or a 6.9-year basis. And then also, again, actually creating a revenue stream. So, yeah, to answer your question, there would be.
Yeah, and then can you supply the specs for that snow guard system?
100%. I haven't had my engineering team get that deep into this. It's all preliminary stuff. So I wanted to get in front of you guys, you know, toss the idea out there.
I get it. It's just a super important thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm with you. And if we get to the next meeting, I'm happy to bring those details with me as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
My question would be to the Board of Education. We have a building committee.
We do have a building committee, and actually
Did
yesterday.
they look at this?
We did. Well, I did, and I gave it to Sam. And yesterday, Sam and I met quite a while in the afternoon, and we met with an engineer. And really, the probability of being able to have a project off the ground before July 6th is improbable, because if we are 60% reimbursable for the roofs, so we can get 60 cents back on the dollar. But in order to get the 60 cents back on the dollar, there is a 21 question application we have to go through. There is a process that you have to go through as a Board of Finance. Chris can put you on the spot. I asked Chris to join the building committee because I think it's important that we have a member of the Board of Finance, because there's certain verbiage that has to happen within the Board of Finance meetings about the project. It does have to go out to bid. And even in talking to I'm not sorry, but in talking to the people we were talking to yesterday, they do a majority of the routes in the state of Connecticut. It was like, there's really no way. I don't know if you all noticed the tarp. The big tarp, because we had a leak, and the leak happened in 8 inches above my brand new fire alarm system that I had put in December. In between the metal wall and the concrete wall, so we could see it. So the alarm started throwing all these crazy codes. Alarm company comes out, means that there's water. There's no water in the alarm system. There was a leak in the roof directly above this space. there's so much space for the electrical center. So the roof had become a pressing issue. But in short, long story short, and talking to the people we were talking to yesterday, it's a project we probably wouldn't be able to get off the ground until next summer to make sure that we really have crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's so that we can get the proper reimbursement.
And we're also having the grant committee look at that. Beth signed a letter the other day, to possibly fund this for a different grant that would maybe end up happening this year. And if that happened, we wouldn't need to maybe go to that route. So I just wanted to get this in front of you guys so you saw it and see what we're looking at.
Good idea, but you have to go through the process here. We have a process, and the process is you start with the school, with their building committee, because it's their building. And then it comes to us.
I'm super familiar with these processes, so I can appreciate that 100%. We're actually doing a 1.2 megawatt project on the social service building right now. So I totally could appreciate that. And another thing to think about too is that there's a interconnection application process that we have to do with the utility companies as well for these types of projects, and they take time, you know. So like next summer does actually align with when we would be able to start the project, which is why I feel that the July 4th is an unrealistic time frame to start this. But that leaves us with the second deadline, which is December 31st, 2027, to have it placed in service. So we can get this thing installed in a 4 to 8 week time frame and have it placed in service before December 31st, 2027. So any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other selectmen's time? Anything else, Jessica?
That's it for now.
Board members' concerns. Hearing none, we'll move on. Public comment. Oh.
It's
I
a
thought that
super
was
long
Peyton.
meeting, so I'll make it really quick.
Okay.
Melissa Finardi, this is Riley. So I'm the third selectman. I'm actually here on rec commission duties tonight. Last meeting, there were some comments during public comment, brought up about our fields usage, about not using the Lawrence Field and moving our usage towards the Sagala Field. I just wanted to clear up some of the confusion there. Our budget was not really covering the use of or maintenance of both of the fields. So as a commission, we decided to put all of our funds and efforts into maintaining the Sagala Field. This year we have new clay coming in for the softball fields, which is partially going to be covered, hopefully, by a grant through the Canaan Foundation. And we also have new nets and a new scoreboard going in. So I just wanted to clear that up. There was a comment made possibly about the dog park impeding the use of Sagala Field, Lawrence Field. And that's just not the case. It was a decision made by the Rec Commission. So I'm just clearing that up. We have our meeting every third Tuesday of the month, and we would really love to get a little bit more town involvement. We have one person who comes to our meetings, it's Jen. And so I would love to see some more faces in the audience. If you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, we are always open to get more involvement. So that's it for me.
It was me that brought up about the dog park.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was my understanding that you can't play ball there because that dog park's right in center field.
Yeah.
And I would say after being a ball player myself,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think the dog park is in the wrong place because it limits you from soccer because the kids used to play soccer there in the fall, and you have center field shortened up,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to get. You wind up getting a lawsuit. Somebody goes back for a fly ball and lands on top of a.
Yeah.
And you have plenty of space over and back of the bank, by that parking lot, that's where the original dog park was designed to go anyways.
Yeah, that's understandable. I just wanted to clear up that the reasoning for us moving all of the actual sports was made last year, and it wasn't to do with the dog park. It was
But
more
you
budget.
also understand, as the Recreation Commission, and they should understand, that that's the Gala Field, and I was the first selectman at the time. That's under a lease from the
Yeah.
state of Connecticut Department of Transportation. And then any day, given day, they can call up and say, your lease is now revoked.
Okay,
So I wouldn't put a lot of money into that field.
okay. Well, all right. Well, it's in process right now, but luckily it's partially funded by hopefully a grant. But we've got the new boards going in, and it was also a concern of the commission that the parking was an issue. It was congested being in the center of town, so being off in the Gala Field was they decided last year would just be better for parking and congestion and things like that. So anyways, I just wanted to clear that up.
So
Okay.
the dog park was measured, just to reinforce what you're saying, as to the center field line and that corner post. It was measured,
Yeah,
so the field still fits.
but
That
it
is
it
not
still
fine.
eliminates the kids from playing soccer there.
They chose to move the soccer.
Well,
because
I
the
mean,
rest of soccer was
obviously
there.
they chose to move it because the dog park's now in where the soccer field was.
No. I
Well, I'm not gonna argue with it, but
No,
I
I'm
just,
sure that
I just think that
recreation
that's a
committee can answer that.
recreation field that we own and that our recreation commission should be making sure that's our field. The field up above is state property and it can be taken away. And, you know, we used to have a saying, you know, what the state give us, they can take it in a matter of, just like that.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen because we are making a really, really nice field there for all of our kids. So
One thing I will say that I have had some of the softball league come in the office and I know Lindsay is maybe gonna try and work something out with the bases or something, but they didn't like playing the adults that play the softball, didn't want to play on the Segala field because it's a short throw on the bases. And they wanted to continue playing down in Lawrence Field.
Right.
But some of those guys and gals that play in that league pay, I'm not exactly sure how it's all split up and whatnot, but they pay a due that one part of the due was supposed to go to maintenance of a field. At least that's what they were told. So what I said to them is, well, I don't think Lindsay ever got that part of the maintenance fee from rec, so you never saw the benefit of that money.
Right.
Maybe that, whatever they're using there, they could go to fix up Lawrence Field a little bit, so you could have both fields, you know, fixed up with clay and all that type of stuff.
Well, Lawrence is also a grass infield for the adults.
Yes.
And I coached the girls softball when we use Segala field, so totally different fields. And like you said, the bases are different dimensions, everything. So
Yes, and I think we're gonna see, if we don't do something with that field, I think we're gonna see that softball league dissolve. Jesse could speak for this because she's on one of the supporting teams there, but the numbers are way down, and it is nice to drive through town and see a game being played in the downtown area. I'm not saying it's bad at Segala either. It is nice to see that Lawrence Field utilized because it is the harder game, you know.
I know it was measured, but the issue is if, we have these big dudes who
yeah, they're
hit a
smacking the ball. Yeah.
and it goes into, if there's a dog in there and they get hit by a ball, does the league have to pay liability for the dog getting hurt or a person in there with their dog? Or
There's never any dogs in there.
it's just, or does rec have to, we don't want rec to have to cover that fee, so it's like, we
And some of
can't
their
really
sports-
play on Lawrence Field no matter what.
Too.
Hmm.
Even if we were to fix it up
Lawrence Field.
as a softball, like the whole league fix it up, we can't really play there because there's a dog park in Duo. Even though it got measured.
even though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's for the safety of both the players and the dogs. We don't want, if there was a dog in there, we wouldn't want any dog to get hurt or a person walking their dog in there either. So it's tough. I almost wish that it was brought. I know it was ultimately the decision of, the former administration and the rec commission and everything like that, but I wish it was brought almost like to a better town meeting maybe or something, just for more information, because I feel like the softball teams would have been there. Which I know I'm not.
Well, now you
blaming
know.
you.
Every third Tuesday.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
you should probably come to the rec commission.
I got you.
So,
I agree that
anyway.
they should come to the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voice their concern.
Involved. It's
Exactly.
every third Tuesday.
We'll put it right down.
So.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Sorry
And
to
congratulations.
Stand there.
I have several Zoom comments. Start, Kathy Keene thanked the finance committee for the money for Catherine Mountains. And Lindsay Crane, who is the chairperson of the rec commission, stated, "We would love for people to come to our recreation meetings to discuss this. We have been discussing these issues for years at our meetings." Christy Segala stated that numbers for participation in the softball have been dwindling for many years before the switch. And there was a question, can they play at the school? What field at the school?
The CMA bill.
That's a baseball field.
That's a baseball.
Yeah, it's a baseball field.
So,
Yeah, it's different fields.
Different fields. Any other public comments? Once, going twice. You have nothing else for public comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We'll now go into executive session.
Motion to enter into executive session.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, folks, for coming.
Approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Everybody.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Sorry to keep you waiting here.